Hello everyone, this is Reese from English for You, and with me is... Kat.
Also from English for You.
Also from English for You, we're both here. And it's day 2 of our article about Wojtek the bear.
Yes, which I love. I love this article.
So, Kat, do you remember what happened yesterday in the article? Something about a bear and some troops?
So, some troops that were just out of a Russian prison were going through Iran on their way to Iraq, and they met a little boy with a bear cub. And they thought, well, this little boy probably can't take care of this bear cub, so what did they do?
Well, they took the bear, or in exchange for an army knife, they took the bear, and they looked after the bear for quite a long time. At some point, it seemed as though the British soldiers were going to maybe move the bear away, but in the end, they let the Polish soldiers keep the bear.
Right.
Because he'd become so precious to them.
And he seemed to move around quite a lot. So they were in Iran, they went to Iraq with him, and then they went to Italy, which is a completely different continent. So he's a pretty well-traveled bear.
This bear has traveled more than I have.
Maybe so. Maybe me too. Anyway, so this all happened during World War II. And so I think probably, Taiwanese students like yourselves will learn about this war in school. But the way it happened in Europe was quite different from how it happened here.
Yeah, World War II, as the name suggests, really affected the whole world.
Yep.
And being from the UK myself, I remember learning lots about the European side of the war in school, and it was just a really scary time to be around.
For sure, yeah. I mean, if you were a man at that time, you probably were off fighting. And if you were a woman at that time, you were probably, doing the typical jobs that men would do while they were off fighting. And it was just a really weird time.
Yeah. And this story is set during World War II, and so that gives us a bit of context to the story and the kind of environment that the bear and the soldiers are working in.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're in the middle of this really intense war. They're in Italy. It means they're going to see a lot of action. And so is Wojtek. So we're going to learn about what exactly he did when he was with the soldiers in Italy. So let's go to the article and see.
Great.
Reading.
Wojtek the bear, a most unusual soldier. Wojtek quickly adapted to army life at the base in Italy. He wrestled with the soldiers, joined them at campfires, and slept in their tents. He learned how to salute and march in line with the men on his hind legs. Wojtek even joined the grenade practice. Instead of throwing real explosives, the soldiers threw oranges, which the hungry bear chased down and ate. Playing with the bear lifted the spirits of the soldiers and gave them a pleasant distraction from the war. He also made friends with a dog that belonged to one of the British officers. It wasn't all fun and games, though. Wojtek worked just like the other soldiers. Being such a strong animal, he was able to transport heavy baggage and weapons. But he knew how to relax after work. When he saw one of the men drinking, he'd gesture with his paw to say, "Give me some of that." They happily agreed and let him enjoy a can of beer on occasion. After the war, Wojtek lived in a zoo in Scotland, where he was cared for until his death in 1963. The soldiers who served with this special fighter never forgot the happiness he brought them.
Okay, so starting off today, it says Wojtek quickly adapted to army life at the base in Italy. That's nice to hear. I'm glad that he, seemed to find his rhythm, seemed to do really well. He adapted, and adapt is actually our first vocab word. It's a verb that means to get used to something, or to change in a way that you can fit better in a new habit or in a new way of living. So if you talk about the noun version of this word, that's adaptation, when you add A-T-I-O-N to adapt. That's something that all living things go through. For example, me adapting to the weather in Taiwan. So like where I'm from, it's kind of chilly, and like the winters, there's lots of snow. It's very dry. It's a lot more hot and humid here. Yeah, so adapting to the weather was something I had to do. But so we're talking about getting used to a new style of living, even for a bear. Now, an example sentence for adapt might be, Gina had a hard time adapting to living in China as she didn't speak the language and had no friends when she moved there.
I can definitely sympathize with that, as moving to a country where you don't speak the language right away can be difficult to adapt to.
For sure. Yeah, especially if there's not a lot in your own language. Yeah.
Well, the article continues. He wrestled with the soldiers, that's Wojtek, joined them at campfires, and slept in their tents.
Sounds like he's a spoiled little boy.
It really sounds like a lot of fun this bear's having.
Yeah.
And we've got a great word here, and it's wrestle. Wrestle is a verb with the past tense being wrestled. And wrestling, it's a kind of fighting where you grab each other and you try to throw one another to the ground.
Yeah.
Actually, wrestling is a big part of some cultures. I know that in Mongolia, in northern Asia, they have this sport, which is Mongolian wrestling, where they kind of grapple and throw each other around.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Wrestling can be fun between friends, like how the soldiers maybe wrestle with Wojtek the bear.
Yeah.
But it also can be a serious way of fighting.
Yeah, there's the official Olympic Greek wrestling where you have certain rules about it, or there's WWE, which if you're familiar with that, it's like entertainment wrestling. It's more of a dance than an actual wrestling match. It's like they break chairs over each other's heads and they throw each other out of the ring and stuff like that. It's meant to be silly.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
But do they actually get hurt?
Only if they do it wrong. Yeah. They're trained to, look like they're hurting each other while not actually hurting each other. Yeah. But anyway, so Wojtek and these soldiers were probably like, come here, and wrestling and having fun.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. So, and what he did was he slept in their tents as well. So a tent is a noun that is like a temporary shelter when you're camping or you're out in the wild. And usually it's made out of cloth. You just crawl under or inside it to sleep. And so soldiers in the army, of course, they sleep in tents because they have to move around a lot. So they can't really keep building or going to permanent houses. So tents are just the best way for them to move. So an example sentence for that might be, after we got to our campsite, we set up our tents and started a fire in between them. Yeah.
Well, Taiwan is a really good place to go camping. And so I've slept in so many tents in Taiwan.
I think I've only done camping once on a beach, but it was still pretty fun. Yeah. Anyway, so what else did he do? He was having fun, he was doing all that, and he learned how to salute and march in line with the men on his hind legs. Oh, that's so cute.
It's really cute, but what does it mean to salute?
Salute. A salute is actually, it's both a noun and a verb, but it's a formal greeting or a way of showing respect. It's like normally when you greet somebody, you might wave, you might bow, you might shake their hands. But with a salute, usually you do it very quickly and you do it with your arm or your hand. So I think of like the way that U.S. soldiers salute their commanding officers. They stand up very, very straight and then they like basically snap the side of their hand to their head so that their like hand is touching their head and they're standing there, giving a salute. So it's something you do to show respect to a leader or a superior officer. So ordinary people like us don't really salute that often, except for maybe flag songs. Like when the song is happening, you put your hand over your chest.
Yeah, I remember when I was in London a few years ago and I was looking at Buckingham Palace and I was lucky enough to see the Queen come out of Buckingham Palace.
Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked. And all of the soldiers that were there guarding the palace, they all saluted the car as it went past.
Of course.
It's the Queen.
Yeah, you must salute the Queen. Yeah. So what else do we have here? His hind legs.
Yeah, we have the word hind here, H-I-N-D, which is an adjective. And hind is describing something that is at the back. So an animal's hind legs are its back legs. So if we're thinking about a dog that has 4 legs and it walks on all 4 legs, the hind legs are the 2 at the back.
Right.
So humans, people, we don't really have hind legs because we only have 2. Yeah. You could also talk about the hind wheel of a bike.
Yeah, or the hind wheels of a car, I guess, because there are 2 of them. All right, so that basically means he stood up like a person.
Yeah, he stood up like a human on his hind legs and I can't...
saluted with his hand.
Right? How tall must this bear look?
I don't know. Maybe 2 meters? That's what I would guess. Yeah.
I wonder if there are pictures online of him saluting.
There must be. Somebody must have gotten that. And next we read, Wojtek even joined the grenade practice.
Well, the article continues. Instead of throwing real explosives, the soldiers threw oranges, which the hungry bear chased down and ate.
Perfect.
So here we have a pocket phrase, which is instead or instead of. And instead shows that we didn't do A, we did B.
Got it.
With A and B being different things that we can do. So instead of doing A, we did B. Another way to phrase the sentence, the soldiers threw oranges instead of throwing real explosives. The soldiers didn't throw real explosives. Instead, they threw oranges.
Aha, yeah. So interesting. So they actually were doing some target practice. And when we talk about explosives, they are, in short, bombs. So when they go off or get dropped, they'll blow apart. They cause a lot of damage. Sometimes they're for killing people. The kind of explosives that these soldiers were using and are typically used in war are called grenades or hand grenades. So what they do is they have a pin in the top of them. So the soldiers pull the pin, throw them, and then take cover before they explode. And the reason they pull the pin is so that it can give it like a few seconds before it explodes.
Yeah, I'm very happy that they're throwing fruit instead of explosives because explosives could be very dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's continue with the article. So the article continues, playing with the bear lifted the spirits of the soldiers and gave them a pleasant distraction from the war.
That's good.
That's nice. Yeah. I think sometimes we all need distractions, especially if we are soldiers fighting in a war.
Yeah, or doing something else very stressful. Yeah.
Well, there's a word here, and the word is spirits, and it's worth talking about. In this context, the word spirits acts as a noun, and it's a word that means the general mood and feeling of a person or of a group of people. So here the article said that the bear lifted the spirits of the soldiers. That means it made the group feel better and happier. Soldiers fighting in a war definitely need as much happiness in their lives as they can get.
Yeah, for sure. So what might be an example of spirits lifting your spirits?
Well, an example sentence could be, a bit of exercise will help lift your spirits.
Aha. And so could a distraction. Yeah, as Wojtek the bear was a distraction. So a distraction is something that distracts you, which is a verb, or something that makes you or lets you take your mind off of something more serious or more important. So distractions can be bad when you have things like homework to finish or when you have work to do, when you have something that you actually really do need to get down to, and like maybe a movie is distracting you or your phone is distracting you. But in something like a scary and sad situation like war, a distraction can be a really helpful thing. When you just want to feel happy about something, when you want to lift your spirits.
I see. So depending on the context or the situation, a distraction could be a good or a bad thing.
Yes.
Sometimes when I'm at work, my Nintendo Switch proves to be quite the distraction.
Oh, really? Have you been playing Animal Crossing lately?
I have, and my boss is not happy with me.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I know that my phone can kind of be a distraction sometimes, so I usually switch it to airplane mode.
Yeah, sometimes we kind of have to take responsibility and remove the distractions so that we can focus on our work or our schoolwork.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was a good distraction in this case. But he also made friends with a dog that belonged to one of the British officers. Animal friendships. It wasn't all fun and games, though. Wojtek worked just like the other soldiers.
Wow. What did he do?
So he was a good distraction, but he also, did some work. So it was not all fun and games. When we say things are all fun and games, it means there's nothing serious or dangerous happening. Nobody's taking things seriously. People are just having fun. It's actually part of a common phrase that goes, it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye.
Whoa.
Which means that you're talking about playing with objects that could hurt you and somebody's trying to warn you about it. So it can sound like a warning if you say it's not all fun and games, but here we actually mean like it's just, there's work to do too.
Well, I seem to remember my mum shouting that phrase at me when I was in the garden playing with stones and sticks and throwing them around.
Yeah. Yeah, or playing with toy guns or something sharp, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fighting in a war is definitely not all fun and games.
No. And actually, not all fun and games is our pocket phrase go for today. So why don't we take a short break and we'll come back after we learn more about this phrase.
Pocket phrase go!
大家要看到花妈每天开开心心在家煮饭哦。It's not all fun and games being a housewife. 当家庭主妇哦，你以为很简单吗？哎呦，不是在跟你开玩笑哦。花妈哦呢，要在有限的金钱、人力、时间内，完美的打扫家里、买菜、煮饭、洗衣服，要把全家人照顾好哦。这个可是很有挑战的，好吗 ？It's not all fun and games， 想一想哦 ，fun 好玩的、有趣的 ，games 游戏，哎，是不是感觉很轻松、很随意、很开心哦？所以 not all fun and games 就表示呢，没有在胡闹，没有在跟你开玩笑的啦。
Well, let's keep reading. So the article continues, being such a strong animal, he was able to transport heavy baggage and weapons.
Okay.
Very useful. Well, there's a word here which is baggage, and it's a noun, and it's pretty easy to explain. Baggage means the things you must carry with you when you travel, like bags or suitcases and other things. A soldier probably has lots of baggage to carry, like equipment and clothes and food, and I can't even imagine how much stuff they must carry around.
Yeah, for sure.
So an example sentence could be, before we get out of the airport, we have to get our baggage and check that everything is still in it. Have you ever had the situation at an airport where your baggage just didn't arrive?
Yeah, and then I think I got it back a couple of days later, thankfully. Yeah, but I've known people who it got completely lost, and that was really unfortunate. Yeah. So Wojtek is helping carry around heavy baggage, which as a big, strong bear would be a really, really nice thing for his friends. But he knew how to relax after work. That's good. I hope that he did. So relax here is a verb that means to take a break, do nothing important, let your mind rest, let your body rest, and get some noun form relaxation, or do something relaxing, like, I don't know, take a bath, watch TV, play with your phone. But relaxing is not sleeping. So if you go to sleep, you're taking a nap. If you're relaxing, you're actually still awake. So an example might be, Steve decided to relax on the sofa when he got home and watch a movie with his dog.
Ooh, that sounds nice. Well, I like to relax by laying in my bed with my cat, playing video games. Yeah. How do you relax, Kat?
Kind of the same. My cats, usually when I'm relaxing, they like to run around and play with each other, or sometimes they will sleep next to me. But I like to, watch shows and draw, stuff like that.
It can be super hard to relax if there's a lot of noise around.
Yeah, that's true. But how did Wojtek relax? Well, what it says is, when he saw one of the men drinking, he gestured with his paw to say, give me some of that.
Kat, you just said a super cute word.
Paw?
Yes, it's one of my favorite words. And I love the word paw because I love animal paws.
They're the greatest.
Paw is a noun, and a paw is an animal's foot. But not all animals have paws. Cats and dogs have paws because they have claws and pads on their feet.
Right.
But horses and pigs do not have paws. They have other words.
Hooves and things like that.
Hooves and trotters, yeah.
Got it.
My cat has the cutest little paws. I love tickling them.
Does she like it when you tickle them?
I'll let her tell you that later. So an example sentence would be, the bear used its paw to catch fish in the water.
Yeah, I call my cat's paws jelly bean toes.
That is adorable.
Because they look like jelly beans.
They do,
yeah.
But don't eat those jelly beans.
No. Anyway, so he would ask for beer.
Yes, he'd ask for beer, and as the article says, they happily agreed and let him enjoy a can of beer on occasion. A bear drinking beer. Is that a good idea?
I mean, they're big enough. I don't think it's going to hurt them that much.
I think it should be fine. A little bit of beer is okay, but not for kids.
No.
Another pocket phrase here. The phrase on occasion simply means sometimes or occasionally. Now, if you're anything like me, you'll occasionally forget how to spell this word. Occasion is spelled O-C-C-A-S-I-O-N. And I remember how many C's and S's I should use with a little trick. I just remember 2 cups, 1 sugar, meaning I'm making 2 cups of tea and each cup has 1 sugar.
Got it. Okay.
Kat, can you use that phrase in a sentence?
Occasion? Well, let me think. Jenna mostly watches funny TV shows, but she will enjoy a drama on occasion.
Ah, I see.
Got it. All right. So, yeah, Wojtek, helped the soldiers out a lot. He didn't actually do any fighting, though, which I think is a good thing. So the article says, after the war, Wojtek lived in a zoo in Scotland where he was cared for until his death in 1963. He lived a good long life.
He did.
Yeah. The soldiers who served with this special fighter never forgot the happiness he brought them.
Aw.
Very sweet. All right, so now we have this last phrase, which is care for. When you say you care for someone, it can mean you like or love someone, but in this case, it means that you take care of them. So, caring for a child or animal, meaning you feed them, you play with them, you clean up after them. So, the zoo staff took care of everything Wojtek needed for another 20 years. He had a real good long life. I think brown bears typically live like 20, 25 years. So
right.
he lived about as long as a brown bear would live. Yeah. And he probably had a really good time. Now, that's all we have about Wojtek the bear. And you can look up some pictures of him online. But right now, we are just going to go ahead and go to our For You chat.
Great.
For You chat.
Okay, and our For You chat question of the day is, do you think moving to the zoo was easy for Wojtek? And what problems do you think he would have faced after living with humans for so long?
That's a good question. I think maybe it would be a little boring. Because it sounds like he actually got to do a lot of work. He got to have a lot of stimulation and friendship and interaction with people. So he probably felt like he was part of a family when he was with the soldiers. But then in the zoo, he probably has less human contact.
Yeah, I guess in the same way that he had to adapt to living with the soldiers in the beginning, he would also have to kind of readapt to living to the zoo.
Yeah.
It's a new environment for him, something he's not used to. And like you said, maybe it's just not as interesting a place for him to live compared to a war zone.
Yeah. I have to wonder if any of his old unit mates would go visit him.
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so too. I imagine they probably would if they could. All right. So, yeah. Maybe you guys can learn about that. And that's all the time we have. We hope you've enjoyed learning about Wojtek the bear with us. And we will see you next time.
See you soon.
See ya.
Wojtek the bear, a most unusual soldier. Wojtek quickly adapted to army life at the base in Italy. He wrestled with the soldiers, joined them at campfires, and slept in their tents. He learned how to salute and march in line with the men on his hind legs. Wojtek even joined the grenade practice. Instead of throwing real explosives, the soldiers threw oranges, which the hungry bear chased down and ate. Playing with the bear lifted the spirits of the soldiers and gave them a pleasant distraction from the war. He also made friends with a dog that belonged to one of the British officers. It wasn't all fun and games, though. Wojtek worked just like the other soldiers. Being such a strong animal, he was able to transport heavy baggage and weapons. But he knew how to relax after work. When he saw one of the men drinking, he'd gesture with his paw to say, "Give me some of that." They happily agreed and let him enjoy a can of beer on occasion. After the war, Wojtek lived in a zoo in Scotland, where he was cared for until his death in 1963. The soldiers who served with this special fighter never forgot the happiness he brought them.
vocabulary review.
Adapt. Thomas found college to be very different from high school, but he quickly adapted to his new environment. Tent. Lily and James went camping, and they found a beautiful spot by the river to set up their tent. Spirits. George sang a song to raise his spirits as he hiked through the cold wind and heavy rain. Baggage. Kevin's baggage was too heavy, so he had to pay an extra fee to bring it on the plane. Relax. Henry lowered himself into the hot spring and relaxed in the steaming water. Paw. That poor dog isn't walking right. It looks like it cut its paw on some glass.
智慧小补帖
Wrestle. Salute. Hind. Grenade. Explosive. Distraction.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net